Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Construction Record Podcast. I'm digital media editor Warren Frey, and with me today I have
Stantton Pallister, the operations manager here at Sitech Western Canada. Sitech Western Canada is the licensed Trimble dealer for construction technology in Western Canada, and we are a company that's wholly owned by Finning Canada.
And I'm Peter Gibbons, technology solutions architect with Finning Canada. And Finning is the Caterpillar dealer for Western Canada, as well as we have operations in the UK and South America.
And we're going to talk today about drone surveying and telematics. So I'd like to ask both you how each of your firms got into starting with the whole idea of drone surveying and telematics, and maybe with that sort of not a history of how the construction industry has moved toward this, but sort of like a little summary, I suppose.
Sure. Why don't I leave it for you, Stan, to handle drones, and I'll handle telematics, as that's our specialties.
Sounds good, Peter. Thank you. So in February of 2017, Caterpillar partnered with a company called Airware, and that, of course, Finning being a dealer of Caterpillar was their initial foray into drones. Mm-hmm. And Finning Canada had, at that time, 4 pilots and 4 aircraft. Also during that time, the regulations in Canada for getting permission to fly drones and use them in commercial applications were still in development, and it was a very straightforward process. Mm-hmm. Airware ceased operations in mid-2018, and also in 2018, Trimble introduced a product called Stratus, and using Propeller as a platform, Sitech became the primary designate within Finning to start selling, servicing, and working with drones.
Okay, and with telematics, Finning started to first get involved with telematics around 2012, 2013, when equipment started to be outfitted from factory with devices. We started to work alongside Caterpillar as to understand subscriptions, how that we could start to use this new technology with our customers and start onboarding with them. And from then on, it has developed.
And could you explain, I'm sure a lot of the audience knows what telematics is, but just in case they don't, what is telematics? I mean, drone surveying, kind of self-explanatory. Telematics is not so much as words go.
Sure, yeah. Telematics is a way of connecting equipment with the user, more or less in the office, I guess you would say, or these days on mobile devices. So basically relaying data from equipment to offboard the equipment.
Okay, and what are some of the advantages of using both drones and telematics? I mean, with drones, obviously it's in the air and not some guy on the ground, but there's probably advantages beyond that. And telematics, same thing. There's somebody in an office, it's kind of the opposite. Somebody in the office is getting all the data instead of gathering it on the ground.
Yeah, certainly, Warren. So how are drones good for construction, right? So orthomosaics can be produced from drone flights, which allow construction companies a bird's eye view of their project. Drone flights can produce job site information that's used by construction companies that would traditionally be obtained from construction surveying activities on the ground, like topographic surveys. Drones are able to provide measurable information from locations on a job site that might be dangerous or hazardous to humans, such as climbing on material stockpiles for measuring quantities, or perhaps measuring on the edge of tailings ponds or sumps. And lastly, I'd say drones on construction job sites can be used. The data from drones on construction job sites can be used to produce point clouds and surfaces in CAD software, such as Trimble Business Center, which in turn can be used to produce measurements such as takeoffs, compare design to calculate cut and fill, volumetric calculations in quantities, and to produce reporting such as builts or markup redline drawings, and finally to calculate profiles and produce cross sections. So lots of different applications for drones that are actively being used in construction today.
And with telematics, telematics is some of the advantages of using telematics now, or compared to when it was first came out, which was usually just tracking hours for maintenance and location. But telematics has now been used for rental arrangements, payload data, emissions, and it's growing now. I mean, having a connected fleet really helps to understand more about what that fleet can do and what that can be used to help the business along. Telematics is also a major metric when for the bidding processes for different jobs. So that archive data can be used to help the businesses understand better what the costs are involved with a certain piece of equipment.
Okay, and that kind of rolls into my next question. When I hear the word finning, I and probably everybody else thinks of heavy equipment, but it sounds like there's a little bit more to it than that. But also, what are some ways that what's some heavy equipment this is integrated with that I would be surprised to hear that it's been integrated with, including drones?
So drones are able to be part of a complete workflow on a construction job site, Warren. So the data that's produced from drones can be combined with other construction data, such as project design, such as the survey data that's produced from construction surveyors, but also with respect to machinery on a job site. If the machinery on a construction project has grade control technology installed on it, the telemetry or information that's coming from the grade control technology on machinery can be integrated as well through CAD software. So a more fulsome picture of what's happening on a connected job site will allow construction managers and site supervision to have a more holistic view of what's happening in real time.
Yeah, and so that's it with the telematics devices that are installed on almost all CAD equipment now. A lot of that data can be moved into platforms where a lot of that drone analytics can be overlaid in those platforms as well. So you see a lot of migration between the two products there as well to develop a solution for a customer. So and on top of the devices that are installed on the equipment, on some of the heavy equipment, such as the excavators and bulldozers, generators, like I said, most all equipment now comes with devices on them that can add to that connected fleet and complete that connected fleet. There's also aftermarket devices. So if we have older equipment or assets that are not equipped with devices from factory, devices can be added to those pieces of equipment in accordance to what they can relay off of them, what data can come off of them. So it can range from an older truck or an older piece of heavy iron that can put data off. The ECM will relay data. We can install a aftermarket device that will relay that data off, all the way to Bluetooth devices that can be put onto buckets, other pieces of equipment that can be tracked via Bluetooth, either through an app or through the devices that are on the machines. So there's a large array of different ways to connect your fleet, and yeah, that ranges everywhere from factory installed to aftermarket devices.
Next, I was wondering, are there some situations that are better for others for these technologies? Like, for instance, I would assume, but I could be wrong, something that's large scale, like a mine or oil sands or something along those lines, complicated stuff, that would lend itself more to this. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there are smaller projects that lends itself to as well.
Yeah, we're seeing adoption of drone technology in a lot of different arenas within construction, right? So they can be used small scale on smaller projects, but larger scale projects as well, right? So generally speaking, an ideal type of job site is going to be free of obstructions like power lines and buildings and so on and so forth. Drones are limited, obviously, by the weather, whether they can fly or not. So if it's freezing or raining or snowing, that can limit it. But we're seeing drone activity on commercial construction job sites, industrial job sites, oil fields, such as flying pipelines, and then of course, mining's an opportunity for drones as well.
Yeah, with telematics, optimal work conditions for telematics are going to be basically anywhere where we have good connectivity. And even that, it's growing to areas that do not have very good connectivity, using different methods to connect those fleets, whether that be satellite, Wi-Fi, remote LTE systems. So yeah, basically telematics is something that can be used pretty much anywhere where a connected source is available.
And what are some areas that you haven't cracked it yet, but you think we're pretty close to getting into using drones, like say smaller areas, or let's say an abandoned mine where it's zipping through tunnels or something like that? Or is that already happening?
That's a great question, right? So there are some applications that have been developed for drones in underground mining. Interestingly enough, I think some emerging sectors where drones are starting to come online and provide useful applications for those areas of business are forestry, for example. So conservation, logging, and forest firefighting. Another area I think where drones are emerging is on the inspection side. So structural inspection of, say, dams and spillways, grain elevator terminals, runways and bridges. And I guess maybe I'd say one more area would be weather analysis and studying climate change and the impact of weather on the Earth. So.
And yeah, just basically similar to what Stantton was saying with drones, telematics is kind of pushing the limits on the connected areas and connected regions that have that connectivity, as mentioned in my last answer there. Forestry, marine, maybe two of the areas that is difficult to collect data. And by using Wi-Fi, remote LTE systems, satellite, we're doing that now. But as businesses use telematics, they're going to want more and more data to come off of those machines. And to move more data requires a better pipeline for that data to flow on. So as the connectivity improves, that data will improve, and that is happening.
And finally, I hear Trimble. I think of the robot dog. So what are the robot dogs of the future that is not here yet, is not going to be here for the next 5 years? But what do you see as the future of these technologies?
Yeah, that's a great question, Warren, and this is one area of our work that I find really exciting and interesting, right? So where do we see technology going on the thought leadership side? So I think one of the applications that's going to continue to develop and emerge with drone activity at work, and specifically within construction, is the integration of drone data with GIS mapping. So construction companies and municipalities and local governments are going to recognize more and more the value and speed in which drone data can collect GIS information and provide that in an accurate, measurable way that'll allow leaders within the community, governments, and other entities to make responsible decisions on urban planning, on resource management, and on future construction projects. So I think that's number one. And number two is I see with the advent of machine learning and business intelligence and analytics in general, combining drone data with other construction data sets to provide or produce insightful reporting is going to allow business leaders within the construction community to manage their risk better overall when it comes to projects and improve their decision quality. So they'll have a more accurate, granular, and more real-time view of what's happening on their projects. And that's going to allow them to execute their work in a much better way and operate their businesses in a better way.
Yeah, and I see two areas where we're definitely working on right now, and it is developing, and we're seeing progress with telematics. And one of them being production. So production, tracking actual material being moved in real time. Data flowing from payload systems that are on the machines, along with the cycle times and the utilization. and then bringing all that together is using your connected fleet to have a connected work site. And that actually is where another area where the drone analytics can tie in with the data that's coming off of the machine. So we're seeing the actual granular data coming off of the payload systems on the machines via the telematics and the cycle times, and then comparing that to the drone cut and fill analytics that we're seeing from the flights that are being done from the drones. So now that these businesses can understand a holistic view through the drone, and then that granular data being moved in the payload systems on the machines. And second, businesses are wanting to reduce on carbon footprint by reducing their emissions. So telematics can track utilization, and through an algorithm can calculate the emissions emitted. So then they can start to think about areas where they can adjust their operations to reduce their output. And today we're actually offering that to customers now through our Cubic platform that will help customers understand where they can start to help on that on reducing their outputs and understand how they can change their businesses to do so.
Okay, Stantton, Peter, thanks very much for joining us.
It was a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Warren.